Transparency International, the global anti-corruption coalition, has again ranked Nigeria among the 36 most corrupt countries in the world. This is according to its 2025 Corruption Perceptions Index, released on Tuesday. The rating placed Nigeria at 142nd out of 182 countries, down from 140th in 2024 after scoring 26 points out of 100, highlighting persistent governance challenges. The index further showed that Denmark topped the list as the least corrupt, scoring 89 points. Finland followed with 88, Singapore with 84, and New Zealand with 81. Well, to unpack this, I am joined by Liborous Oshoma, lawyer and public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, Nigeria fell from 140th to 142nd most corrupt country in 2025. What does this point to?
Yeah, it points to the fact that the more things change, the more they remain the same. For the government, so those in government will tell you they have done everything humanly possible to improve, the ease of doing business and then corruption in government circle. Because most of these ratings, what they check most are the conduct of public officials and how government business is transacted. That takes almost a large percentage of the evaluation. But you find out that in Nigeria, we all agree that government and government activities is the most corrupt in Nigeria. And that's why you have a lot of people, waiting to go into government are more than those in government presently. And that's why we think that government appointments are opportunities to settle those that have worked according to, their balance. But certainly, it is not a good analysis for us. And if you look at the top 10s of the countries rated, Africa is not even amongst, one of the top 10s, even though you have a Cape Verde among the first 70, which in 60-something, and then you have Cabo Verde also in that group. And then you have Botswana. For Botswana to be in that, bracket, it certainly shows that, a lot can be done. But if you look at our public institutions, starting also from the judiciary, the way cases are handled, the fact that you are certainly, no matter the precedent, no matter the authority, no matter how water cast they are, how water tight they are, you are certainly not sure of the outcome. And then also the fact that you're going to do government procurement processes, no matter the the structures put in place, especially the Bureau of Public Procurement and the bidding processes and how letters of no objections can be raised, but you still find out that these processes are compromised, heavily compromised. Bribery and corruption, underhand dealing, nepotism is also highly prevalent in these places. The fact that government salaries, government officials' salaries are not made public. There are certain basic information that ordinarily you would think that should be out there with a click of the button, but are not there because all of these things are shrouded in secrecy. The fact that the salaries and allowances of public office holders, including the lawmakers, are certainly not what is keeping them. All of these are the indices that they evaluate to actually arrive at that. And so I would say that truly, it is also laughable that not too long ago, our president, was given an award as one of the most least corrupt, president. But with this kind of analysis and this kind of rating, he put a light to that award clearly, and that we should do more.
Right. I mean, can Nigeria keep boasting of bold reforms when public sector corruption parties report seems to remain elevated? I mean, if we're talking about reforms, it should cut across board, don't you think so?
These reforms are just on paper, window dressing. We always find a way to, circumvent these reforms. Why the reforms are necessary? Because of the kind of countries we are dealing with and the businesses, and then also the aids, foreign aids that we get, because some of these reforms, without these reforms, certainly you won't be able to access those aids. Remember, even the Economic and Financial Crime Commission was inaugurated or was established as a result of collaborations and reforms, suggestions from, foreign countries on how to collaborate and information management, and the fact that we could not access certain aids and certain grants because we don't have this kind of structures in place. So it is not, these reforms are not, if they were altruistic, if they were reforms that were truly intended, meant, or initiated by us as a people to genuinely check corruption, then that's when the reforms will see the light of the day. But if there are reforms that had to be put in place simply because, some persons, out there insisted that these reforms must be there for us to be able to access, certain aids and grants, then we're certainly going to find a way to circumvent the process. So that's why, even when we say ease of doing business, or when we talk about procurement processes is one of the biggest challenge in government, sector. That's why you hear of contract bazaar, juicy committees, juicy ministries, and non-juicy ministries. So, because some of these processes, like I said, they are condition precedent to accessing certain grants. So they are not our making, they are not our initiation. So that's why it will be very difficult when we talk about reform in one hand, then in another hand, we are circumventing the same reforms that ought to assist us in, fighting corruption and also elevating, our processes in the anti-corruption index and the transparency index, with ease of doing business. But things can improve genuinely. First and foremost, what we need is an attitudinal change, a reorientation, and then to see government as an opportunity to serve and not opportunity to enrich. Once we begin to see government as an opportunity to serve and serve the people and create opportunity. Look at Singapore. Singapore is among the first 5 countries. In 20 years ago, Singapore certainly was not in that bracket. But today, there was, a concerted effort. There was an orientation to actually change the mindset of the ordinary Singaporean. And that's what we need to do. The average mindset of everybody in Nigeria who wants to go into government is how to enrich themselves, because the basic infrastructures are not there, the basic amenities are not there. And when the individuals become the government, they provide for themselves what government ordinarily should be providing for themselves. For them, then certainly they are going to find all ways to cut corners. When your pension, apart from your salary not taking you home, your pension, even though contributory, becomes very difficult for you to access also. Look at our policing. How do you fight corruption without a properly structured police? You can't fight corruption in a government circle when your policing is, first and foremost, among the lowest in the ladder of country with credible policing. So when you look at that institutions alone, which reforms can you put in place when your police cannot check, the compliance with those reforms? Those are the challenges that we face even when we talk about reforms.
Right, thank you, Mr. Oshoma. We're going to a very quick time out, and when we return, we will continue with you on this particular conversation. Please stay with us. Glad to know you're still with us. Thank you, Liborous Oshoma, public affairs analyst and lawyer, for staying with us.
Yeah, thank you. I can hear you. Thank you very much.
All right, I'd like us to end with this. Countries work to exit the FATF grey list. And that, of course, you can say for obvious reasons. But does it seem to you that, countries are probably working, or successive governments in Nigeria seem unbothered by this ranking?
We all know that government in Nigeria seems unbothered. That is why I'm even surprised that Bayo Ononuga has not issued a statement condemning the ranking and then calling it a witch hunt and trying to derail the government. These are perception. That's why they say it's corruption perception index. These are the way people perceive you from the outside. It is not left for you to put structures in place. Right from the days of Obasanjo to Yaradua to Goodluck Jonathan, the best time we had a little, above what we currently have was, I think, sometimes in 2014 or so. You know, when we rebased the economy and, you know, when you had the like of Okonjo-Iweala, even that, the government then also quarreled with the rating. You know, so, and what did they do? They have not done anything differently. You look at our judiciary, you know, you truly wonder if truly with that kind of judiciary, that's not to say that there are no good judges, but, you know, when majority, you know, there's question over the judgment delivered by majority, how do you now begin to talk about corruption and how to fight corruption? You look at the policing, you look at public institutions, talk about public procurement, you to look at, you know, the ministries and parastatals and agencies. You look at, we have been doing the same thing, the over-bloated nature of this government, and then you look at your customs and excise, you look at the processes for clearing goods, you know, you look at your passport procurement, and you see the innovations that they are putting in, and how people still try to circumvent the processes that it took the minister visiting some of these offices unannounced to actually show that processes are being circumvented. So when you put structures in place, like take your customs, for example, go to Kenya, you don't need to visit the port to clear your goods. You know, payments are done online and all the verifications are done online. But here, even if you make payment online, you will still need to do physical visits. These are the what Transparency International will assess. So when you put all of these things together, we are not making efforts in the right direction. Even if we are making effort, it's a little drop in the ocean. Yes, you say, look at our airports, for example. Yes, processes are being innovated, you know, because I won't talk about, you know, I can't give knocks without also giving kudos. Look at the airports and look at like the interior. But yet, the civil service behavior in all of these ministries across board is nauseating, is appalling. And it's so bad that we have even turned our airport to a begging place, where imagine somebody coming to assess the behavior of public officers or public servants in Nigeria and then greeted with those kind of hustlings from immigration hassling, passports for what do you call it, visa and arrival, and then you have NDLA officials in custom and immigration begging you. What would be your impression? Even if you don't assess other ministries, you don't assess other public parastatals, the impression you will go with is that, look, there's so much hunger here and there's so much begging, and it is not possible for government business to be done creditably here. So these are every sector you look at, really, it's as if we take 10 steps forward and 100 steps backward. And successive government, because the government is too bogus, everybody points to one person, Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President. We need to find a way to unbundle, you know, this government and ensure that the checks, the consequences and the checks that ensures consequences are also unbundled, so that for effective, you know, monitoring and management. When you do that, you will be able to move up the corruption perception index a notch further. That way, everybody takes responsibility. It becomes collective responsibility as to the individual responsibility of Mr. President to be a Superman who will be everywhere and checking everybody.
Right, thank you.
At the end of the day, end up checking nobody.
Thank you so much, Liborous Oshoma, lawyer and public affairs analyst, for sharing your thoughts with us on Business Edge today.
Always my pleasure.